Commander Rex Voss strutted into Combat Training Hall 7 like he owned the entire Galactic Defense Academy. Which, let's be honest, he pretty much did. At least in his own mind. The Zentorian's 6-foot frame rippled with muscle that looked like it had been carved from obsidian, and his 4 eyes scanned the room with the kind of predatory satisfaction that screamed, "I'm about to ruin someone's day." "Attention, cadets," Rex barked, his voice echoing off the metallic walls. 23 alien heads snapped to attention. Well, 22 alien heads and 1 human head that moved with all the enthusiasm of a rusted door hinge. That human head belonged to Luna Park, and she was Rex's favorite punching bag. Luna had enrolled at the academy exactly 3 weeks, 4 days, and 16 hours ago. Not that Rex was counting or anything. She was average height for a human, which made her comically short by galactic standards, with dark hair pulled back in a regulation ponytail and the kind of pale skin that suggested her species had spent way too much time hiding in caves instead of conquering star systems. The really annoying part, she hadn't said a single word since arriving. Not one word. Rex had tried everything. Public humiliation, impossible training exercises, pop quizzes on Zentorian battle poetry. The human just stood there, taking notes in her little data pad, following orders with mechanical precision, and keeping her mouth shut tighter than an airlock during a hull breach. Today we'll be reviewing the 17 fundamental combat stances of the Kronos fighting system, Rex announced, pacing in front of the formation like a predator sizing up prey. As developed by the superior intellects of the Zentorian Military Academy 500 years ago. He paused dramatically in front of Luna. Of course, some species never quite mastered these techniques. "Isn't that right, Park?" Luna stared straight ahead. Her expression hadn't changed since day 1, neutral, attentive, and maddeningly unreadable. Behind her, Cadet Blorgan whispered to his seatmate, 20 credits says she cracks today. "You're on," hissed Cadet Exilla. "I give her another week before she transfers to the Sanitation Corps." Rex's mandibles clicked with amusement. The betting pool on Luna's inevitable breakdown had reached epic proportions. Even the faculty were getting in on the action. Professor Quinn from Xenobiology had put 50 credits on Luna, lasting exactly 37 days before requesting a transfer to agricultural studies. "Park," Rex snapped. "Front and center. You'll be demonstrating the gravity hammer technique for the class." Luna moved forward with that same measured pace. No hesitation, no complaint, no emotion whatsoever. She took position in the center of the training mat and waited. Rex grinned, showing rows of razor-sharp teeth. This was going to be fun. The gravity hammer technique was designed for beings with twice Luna's mass and 3 times her bone density. Rex knew this. The entire class knew this. Hell, the maintenance droids probably knew this. The key to the gravity hammer, Rex explained while Luna stood motionless in the center of the mat, is channeling your body's natural gravitational field through focused kinetic energy. He gestured grandly, playing to his audience. The mixed species class watched with the kind of morbid fascination usually reserved for shuttle crashes and reality holovision. Of course, this technique was developed by warriors. Real warriors. Not, Rex paused, letting his gaze drift over Luna with theatrical disgust, whatever this is supposed to be. Cadet Blorgan snickered. Cadet Exilla made notes on her datapad, probably calculating odds. In the back row, the Methanian twins were barely containing their laughter. Rex had been building to this moment for weeks. Every day he'd ratcheted up the pressure just a little more. Started with simple condescension, moved on to impossible physical challenges, and now he was approaching full-scale psychological warfare. The human just wouldn't break. It was driving him absolutely insane. Dean Krolix chose that moment to waddle into the training hall. The slug-like administrator's eye stalk swiveled to take in the scene, and Rex could practically see the credit signs flashing in those beady eyes. "Ah, Krolix," Rex called out cheerfully. "Perfect timing. We were just about to see if humans can actually perform real combat techniques, or if they're only good for comic relief." Krolix's eye stalks focused on Luna with predatory interest. The dean had made no secret of his opinion that accepting human cadets was a mistake. Something about lowering galactic standards and turning the academy into a joke. "By all means, continue," Krolix gurgled. "I'm curious to see if the human can manage even basic competency." Rex's grin widened. Having an audience always made these things more satisfying. The gravity hammer requires perfect balance, precise timing, and the kind of raw physical power that separates true warriors from, Rex gestured vaguely at Luna, pretenders. He demonstrated the technique himself, his massive frame moving with surprising grace. The practiced dummy exploded into fragments with a satisfying crash. "Your turn, Park." Luna stepped forward. She studied the replacement dummy for exactly 3 seconds, shifted her weight, and executed a textbook gravity hammer that reduced the target to splinters. The hall fell silent. Rex's mandibles stopped clicking. Dean Krolix's eye stalks went rigid. Even the betting pool forgot to update their odds. Luna stepped back to her original position and waited for the next instruction. "Lucky shot," Rex muttered, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. "Let's try something more challenging." For the next hour, Rex threw every advanced technique he could think of at Luna. The whirlwind devastator, the quantum crush, the infamous death spiral that had hospitalized 3 Centaurian instructors during its development. Luna executed each one with mechanical precision. No flash, no style, just cold technical competence. And through it all, she never said a word. By the end of the 3rd week, Rex was starting to lose his mind. He'd tried everything. Public humiliation, impossible challenges, pop quizzes on 17 different forms of military history. He'd assigned Luna to scrub the Academy's waste processing units. He'd made her run combat drills at triple gravity. He'd even resorted to playing Vogon poetry during her mandatory study periods. Nothing worked. The human just absorbed every punishment with that same blank expression, completed every task with mechanical efficiency, and maintained her vow of silence like some kind of warrior monk. The betting pool had grown so large that Dean Krolix had to create an official registry to keep track of all the wagers. Current odds stood at 3-1 against Luna lasting another week, but a stubborn minority kept betting on her to stick it out until graduation. Rex wasn't sure which outcome would be more humiliating. Today, he announced to the assembled class, "We're going to try something different." He'd spent the previous evening planning this moment. If Luna Park thought she could outlast him in a battle of wills, she was about to learn why Commander Rex Voss was the most feared instructor in the Galactic Defense Academy. "Combat effectiveness isn't just about technique," Rex continued, pacing in front of the formation. "It's about psychological resilience, mental toughness, the ability to function under extreme stress." Behind Luna, Cadet Blorgan whispered, "Here we go." Some species, Rex's voice dripped with disdain, crack under pressure. They break. They run crying back to their little homeworlds with their tails between their legs. His 4 eyes fixed on Luna with laser focus. Other species understand that war is about domination, superiority, the strong conquering the weak. Luna stared straight ahead. If Rex's words were having any effect, she gave no sign. "Humans," Rex spat the word like a curse, "have never conquered anything. Your entire species' military history is one long comedy of errors. You fight with primitive chemical explosives and kinetic weapons. You can't even agree on a single planetary government." Still nothing from Luna. Rex stepped closer, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. "Your homeworld is a backwater rock in the unfashionable end of the galaxy. Your technology is centuries behind the galactic standard. Your military exists solely for our entertainment. For just a moment, Rex thought he saw something flicker behind Luna's eyes. The tiniest muscle twitch at the corner of her mouth. Face it, Park, Rex pressed, sensing weakness. You don't belong here. You never did. You're a joke. Your entire species is a joke. And everyone in this room knows it. The silence stretched for what felt like an eternity. Then Luna Park opened her mouth and spoke her first words since arriving at the academy. Your footwork is terrible. Rex blinked all four eyes in rapid succession. Excuse me? Well, your footwork, Luna repeated, her voice calm and professional. It's terrible. You're telegraphing every attack by shifting your weight 3 seconds before you move. Any competent opponent would see it coming from the next star system. The training hall could have doubled as a tomb. 23 cadets held their breath. Dean Krolix's eye stalks twitched with shock. Even the maintenance droids seemed to pause in their duties. Rex's mandibles clicked with dangerous calm. I beg your pardon? Also, Luna continued conversationally, your gravity hammer technique relies too heavily on brute force. You're compensating for poor form with raw power, which works fine against training dummies but would get you killed against a real opponent. Cadet Blorgan's jaw dropped. Cadet Silla's datapad slipped from nerveless fingers. Furthermore, Luna said, warming to her subject, the Kronos fighting system has 17 fundamental combat stances, but 12 of them leave your center of gravity exposed to low attacks. Any first-year cadet from a decent military academy would spot the weakness immediately. Rex's face had cycled through several shades of purple. How dare you? And finally, Mia, Luna interrupted, which was probably the most shocking development yet. Your psychological warfare techniques need work. I've been taking notes for 3 weeks, and your entire playbook consists of generic species-based insults and tired military academy hazing. I've seen more creativity from training hologram subroutines. The silence that followed was so complete that you could hear the air recycling systems humming in the walls. Dean Krolix was the first to find his voice. Did the human just critique a Zentorian combat instructor? Luna turned to face the Dean directly. Actually, I just critiqued a mediocre combat instructor who happens to be Zentorian. His species is irrelevant to his incompetence. Rex made a sound like a steam engine having a nervous breakdown. Although Luna added thoughtfully, I should mention that I hold advanced certifications in 47 different combat systems, including the Kronos method. I spent 2 years as a hand-to-hand combat instructor for Earth's Special Forces before applying to this academy. She paused, as if considering her next words carefully. I was also the reigning champion of the Terran Defense Force's annual combat tournament for 3 consecutive years, but I didn't think that was relevant to mention during orientation. Rex's jaw worked silently for several seconds before any sound emerged. Special Forces, counter-terrorism, deep space reconnaissance, and hostile environment operations, Luna confirmed cheerfully. Though I specialized in xenological combat analysis, studying alien fighting techniques to identify weaknesses and develop countermeasures. The implications of that statement hit the room like a tactical nuke. You mean Dean Krolix's voice was barely a whisper? You've been studying our combat methods? Luna's smile was small, professional, and absolutely terrifying. For 3 weeks, 4 days, and approximately 18 hours now. Yes. Rex's brain finally rebooted after what felt like 17 years of stunned silence. Combat analysis, he sputtered. Counter-terrorism. Special forces. His voice rose with each word. You're lying. Actually, Luna said with the same conversational tone she might use to discuss the weather, I'm really not. My service record is in the Academy's database if you'd like to verify it. Though I should mention that about 60% of my file is still classified. The color drained from Rex's face. Well, what passed for color on a Zentorian anyway? Impossible, he whispered. Humans don't have special forces. Humans barely have regular forces. Luna tilted her head slightly. Commander, how exactly did you think my species survived long enough to develop interstellar travel? We've been fighting wars for our entire recorded history. Usually against each other, admittedly, but the principle remains the same. Dean Krolix was frantically typing on his administrative datapad. His eye stalks went rigid as the search results populated. Dear Cosmos, he breathed. Luna Park, Captain, Terran Defense Force Special Operations Command. Decorated veteran of the Proxima Centauri campaign, the Kepler Station incident, and his voice cracked, the Battle of Titan's Gate. The Battle of Titan's Gate. Even Rex had heard of that one. A single human outpost had held off an entire pirate fleet for 6 days using nothing but mining equipment and what the humans called aggressive creativity. That was you? Rex's voice came out as a squeak. Team effort, Luna said modestly. Though I did come up with the idea to weaponize the industrial fabricators. Turns out you can reprogram them to build some very interesting projectiles. She paused, then added with just a hint of satisfaction, the pirates never saw it coming. Rex's world was crumbling around him. 3 weeks of psychological torture, and he'd been targeting a decorated war hero who could probably kill him with a soup spoon. This is ridiculous, he said, desperation creeping into his voice. If you're some kind of elite soldier, prove it. The words were out of his mouth before his brain could stop them. Luna raised an eyebrow. Prove it how? Combat demonstration, Rex said, his pride overriding his survival instincts. You against me. Full contact. We'll see how much your special forces training is worth against a real warrior. The entire class sucked in a collective breath. Dean Krolix's eye stalks swiveled between Rex and Luna like he was watching a tennis match. Commander, Luna said carefully, are you challenging me to a formal combat evaluation? Damn right I am. Luna was quiet for a moment, considering. Then she smiled again, and Rex suddenly understood why the pirates at Titan's Gate had surrendered. Accepted. Meow. The next 10 minutes were a masterclass in how badly things can go wrong when ego meets competence in direct competition. Rex opened with his signature gravity hammer, the same technique he'd been using to intimidate cadets for 15 years. Luna sidestepped it so casually that she appeared to be walking rather than dodging. She countered with something that looked like a gentle push but sent Rex stumbling backward 3 full steps. Interesting, Luna commented. You really do telegraph every move. Rex snarled and launched into the Whirlwind Devastator, a spinning attack that had hospitalized opponents twice his size. Luna ducked under it, stepped inside his guard, and did something with her elbow that made Rex's entire left side go numb. And you're definitely compensating for poor technique with raw power, she observed. By the 5-minute mark, Rex was breathing hard and nursing what felt like 17 different minor injuries. Luna looked like she was out for a pleasant stroll. Would you like to surrender? She asked politely. Rex's response was not suitable for recording in official Academy records. 3 months later, Instructor Luna Park stood in front of Combat Training Hall 7, addressing her first class of advanced combat tactics. Good morning, cadets, she said with the same calm professionalism that had once driven Rex to distraction. I hope you've been taking notes. The mixed species class snapped to attention with gratifying speed. In the front row, former Commander Rex Voss frantically scribbled observations in his junior analyst's notebook. Today we'll be reviewing the fundamental flaws in traditional galactic combat doctrine, Luna continued. As I've mentioned before, most species develop fighting techniques based on their natural advantages. Zentorians rely on strength. Keplerians depend on speed. Andromedans use their superior reach. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the room. Humans developed combat techniques based on the assumption that everyone else was bigger, stronger, faster, and better armed than we were. This led to some very interesting innovations in tactical thinking. In the back of the room, Dean Krolix watched with the expression of someone who had discovered that his worst nightmare was also his greatest opportunity. The Academy's prestige had skyrocketed since word spread about their human tactical genius. Applications were up 400%, and 3 major galactic defense contractors were bidding for exclusive access to Luna's teaching methods. The first principle of human combat doctrine, Luna continued, is that fair fights are for suckers. If you find yourself in a fair fight, it means your intelligence gathering failed. Rex looked up from his notes. Question, Instructor Park? Yes, Analyst Voss. How did you manage to stay silent for so long? I mean, wasn't it difficult to listen to all that criticism without responding? Luna's smile was small and professional. Actually, Analyst, it was quite educational. I learned more about galactic military weaknesses in 3 weeks than I had in my previous 2 years of xenological combat study. She turned to address the full class, which brings us to the second principle of human combat doctrine. Intelligence gathering is often more valuable than raw firepower. Sometimes the best weapon is patience. Dean Krolix made notes on his administrative datapad. The Academy's intelligence gathering courses were being completely restructured based on Luna's recommendations. Any other questions before we begin today's practical demonstration? Cadet Blorgan raised a tentacle. Instructor, is it true that Earth is sending more military advisors to the Academy? That's classified, Luna said cheerfully. But I can tell you that the Terran Defense Force has been very interested in expanding our cultural exchange programs. She didn't mention that 12 more cadets were scheduled to arrive next month, or that they all had remarkably similar service records to her own. Now then, Luna continued, who wants to volunteer for today's demonstration of human combat psychology? Every hand in the room shot up, including Rex's. Luna's smile widened. 3 months ago, she'd been the Academy's favorite punching bag. Now she was reshaping galactic military doctrine 1 lesson at a time. And the best part? She was just getting started. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said we come in peace, they meant it. But they were also prepared for the alternative. After all, as Luna had discovered during her very educational 3 weeks of silence, the universe was full of bullies who needed to learn some manners. And humans had always been excellent teachers.